Deanna Bermudez, welcome back inside the Crazy Ant Farm. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's lovely to be back, especially after such a long time, and with more exciting news to share and speak about. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
how
you've
about you guys?
entered the MCU. I'd say that's a little bit exciting.
Right? Well, we are rocking and rolling. Thank you so much for asking. I mean, it's been an amazing journey, and like we said, it's been a while. It's probably been about 2 years since we've last talked to you. We've just been admiring your success from afar, and we're just absolutely loving it. We are in your corner 24/7, so it's awesome to see.
Thank you very much.
Of course, of course.
Well, I mean, so we want to say, because you've been doing a lot of film work, short film work. You've been doing some voiceover work on video games. Of course, like I said, you've entered the MCU. So you've been staying pretty busy and doing all that, as, everybody knows, since the last time we talked to you, COVID hit and the lockdown hit, and it kind of affected the industry in the most crazy way ever. So I guess let's talk about that a little bit. What was that like when it all kind of shut down for you as an actress, and the industry kind of shutting down the way it did? Talk about that a little bit and what your initial thought process was like,
I mean, it's so crazy because I think like the rest of the world, no one was really prepared for what was about to happen.
Right.
And I was in Spain, and I got to Spain to visit my parents, and Spain shut down and was even taking it seriously. And I remember, because I went for a stroll down the beach and the police came, and they actually threatened to arrest us because we didn't have IDs with us, because I was literally 5 minutes from my parents' house. And I think that this is how serious it is in a small, sleepy seaside town in Spain. Then what are we doing in London? Because London is just this like going like normal.
Yeah.
And then when we got back to London, we basically decided, actually let's go into lockdown, because we realized how serious it was. And then 2 weeks after that, London did go into lockdown. So then I don't think we realized how long it would last, which I think is the same for everyone. And I was like, it's just closing down for a month or two. I was like, that's fine, because as actors, we normally have these kind of spells of we work, then we don't work, we work, then we don't work. So I was like, oh, that's cool, a couple months without work, that's okay. And then it kind of went on. On. And thankfully, my voice agent just was really on it, and they constructed some voice studios that were completely COVID friendly, so you had no interaction with the audio engineer, and that was really what kept me afloat during the pandemic, was the amount of voice work that I was able to do. And doing video games, which is like the most fun. I absolutely love video games. So that really kept my morale high.
Yeah.
Being able to do something so fun, and you're in crazy worlds. I mean, sometimes when I go into do video games, they explain the world, I'm just like, how did someone come up with this?
Right.
What crazy mind have you got? So that really was incredible. And I was really fortunate, because I think in the first year of lockdown, because there was like 2 years of lockdown is how I see it. The first year of lockdown, I also got cast in a feature film in Sweden, a Swedish feature film. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I got to Sweden, and it was like they weren't doing lockdown. The most surreal experience, because I was there like masked, everything, like anti-bac, everything. And they were like, nothing. I was like, oh, you're going to do like a temperature test? Like, I knew that anything that was shooting was like really highly regulated.
Right.
And they were like, not even a temperature test, nothing.
Wow.
And they put me up in a spa hotel on a fjord in the middle of the Swedish forest up north of Sweden, which was stunning. But I remember the first day I got there, I was like, what do you mean a spa hotel? You mean people are walking around like going into saunas and swimming pools? But then obviously I was like, well, if everyone's doing it, and it was a lovely respite really from what was going on in London. And then I got to film on this beautiful Swedish feature film with an incredible director who really listened to me, because my role was playing a Lakota Sioux woman from the 1800s. And I got to work with a member of the Standing Rock tribe, and I learned some Lakota language, which was an incredible experience, especially during lockdown, to have such a beautiful project come my way. And then really, you know, because obviously the whole, I mean, I didn't understand why this Lakota woman was helping this Swedish woman. And so the director was really open to that conversation, and we workshopped it and things. So, I mean, it was like a really beautiful, explorative filmmaking process. And it was the most epic scenery as well. Like, it looked like a painting out there.
Wow.
So very thankful that that was one of my filming projects in the first year of lockdown. And then in the second year of lockdown, I got cast in Moon Knight. So
yeah,
I was like, this lockdown malarkey is not too bad.
Right?
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I mean, you know, because I feel like, you know, we talk about this all the time with our guests and on the show, and mental health and the mental health aspect of the lockdown and how it affected people. And, you know, to be able to hear that story and to hear something so amazing and so good come out of it, and an enriching experience to where you were able to do some stuff and learn some stuff and be in a beautiful look, that's amazing. Because I feel like that's, you know, a lot of people weren't able to be able to do that, and you know, it did play havoc. So we're thrilled to hear that, and we can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is coming out in the US at some point. I know it had a Swedish release, but I think they sold it to somewhere in the US, but I haven't quite followed up on exactly the details. But,
we'll find it.
For sure. But of course, you brought up Moon Knight. I mean, honestly, every show that Marvel is putting out on Disney Plus seems to be getting better and better. Everybody was like, no, Loki was the best one. No, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But now people are saying Moon Knight is the best one. And I definitely think that has to give credit to you and along with your castmates. I mean, so many great people were in this thing. I mean, of course, Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac, and just so many others that we just be remiss without saying. But I mean, credit to you, because your role as a god, I mean, was freaking awesome. I mean, you just killed it, especially with like legendary actors that you were scene partners with. I mean, what was that like? I mean, having scene partners with Ethan Hawke.
Well, I mean, Ethan Hawke is just lovely. I mean, there is nothing negative to say about this project, because everyone was just such a pleasure to work with. I will say, I was just so in awe when I watched that scene in the Chamber of the Gods.
Yes.
You know, I got to watch Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac live.
Yes.
I mean, there was no acting involved. I just watched in awe. Like, that was really the extent of my acting in that. You know, I was mesmerized, honestly, because they are people who I admire. Obviously, when you work with people you admire, I'm always trying to learn from my peers, who, especially when they have that much experience, you know.
Right.
And it was just, I mean, the best gift I could have received during lockdown is to be able to just watch them performing right in front of me.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah.
I love that. That's so freaking epic. I can't even imagine. Like, just hearing you talk about it gets me really excited. We've had other different Marvel stars on the show, and they talked about how secret the casting process was. Was it very secret, hush-hush for you as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think Marvel is super top secret, because everyone wants to know something about Marvel, right? And so I knew it was for Marvel what I was auditioning for, but, you know, I had no idea what project it was. I had dummy sides. The character was written as a 60-year-old music teacher. I know. You know, I was like, well, you know, the casting director knows me. He cast me as the lead in a short film last year, so I know he knows.
Right.
I'm not So I was like, okay, well, and as with everything that I got during lockdown, it was just playing and having fun,
For sure.
There was
Right.
no pressure to book anything. And especially when I saw it was 60 years old, I was really confused. So I just had fun with it.
Yeah.
And then I got cast and I still didn't know what it was for. And I got flown out to Budapest and I still didn't receive sides. So it was very, very top secret.
Yes.
And I received like the actual sides for my scenes like the week before. And then we had the meeting with the director the day before where we finally were able to kind of somewhat make sense of what the scenes were about. So it was very, very top secret. Yeah.
Well, and this one, I mean, what a great one to be a part of, right? To join the MCU, because this one was very experimental, if you will. This one by far was the most violent. This one was reaching like where nobody had reached before in the MCU, right? They're really starting to delve deep into the lore of these different characters. And so talk about that a little bit, because there was some heat at first talking about like what would we expect from Moon Knight, because it does have a violent history in the comic books, and there is this stuff that goes on with him, and the schizophrenia and the dual personalities and the different things that we see. Talk about what it was like for that. And watching Oscar Isaac do the dual personalities, just shifting back and forth, was freaking amazing how that man did that. But were you happy to be a part of something that you knew could bring some controversy and would be edgy into the MCU?
Do you know what? It's funny that you asked that, because the reality is I had no concept of what this show would look like, because I only had the scenes inside the Chamber of the Gods, and like it was that top secret. We didn't get to see any of the other scenes or any of the other script. And even there was everything was secretive on set with even the other actors, like, because we'd signed so many NDAs, we're like, I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to tell you what my scenes are.
Right.
So when I finally kind of saw it, I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing that I'm a part of this.
Yeah.
Because other than, seeing Oscar Isaac do, Khonshu and Mark Spector, I had an inkling of that, and I was super impressed by that. And then to see all the other characters and the layers, and like, oh my goodness, I was just like, I was really floored, to be honest, and the comedy as well, because obviously my part isn't comedic, and then to see the comedy of it, I was just like, wow, what am I watching here? This is so cool. There's comedy, there's like action, and there's like all this, like the blackouts. I found it really fascinating, but I feel like I watched it like another audience member, because I was like, where is this going, and when is this going to end up in Egypt? Like,
right.
Well, and to be fair, though, you also were dual, right? Because your character is actually an avatar of the goddess, right? So you knew he had a little fun playing too, right? So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think the difference was that obviously there's more of a synergy between our avatars and our gods, versus I think what you see in Mark's personality is that he, with his split personality, that's why it's so jarring. So I guess that's the difference. But yeah, it was super, super fun.
That's so epic. And I feel like this series made history for the MCU and for, honestly, a lot of the Disney Plus stuff with, bringing out the first Arabian superhero. That's absolutely amazing. Love to see it. Need more female representation as the superheroes as well. I love to see that too. We're super excited because it seems like when we were watching Endgame, there was that one tiny little clip that was kind of showing up the all-female Avengers. So there's a lot of like acceleration happening with the diversity, and we're just absolutely here for it. We are loving it. So I just think that was very historical as well. I love that.
Super historical. I mean, I like I said, I watched it like an audience member. I didn't know that she turned into the Scarlet
Scarab. Yeah. Yep.
And when I saw that, I was like, what?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's like I know that I've had a lot of support from my Colombian and Latin American community and the indigenous community, and then I have some friends who are half Egyptian, half Colombian, and I was like, this is mega representation.
Oh yeah,
right now, like Arab and like Colombian, like you're just seeing everything in Moon Knight, like how epic. And I do think that like, I mean, it's so amazing to be part of a series that was so big on representation, and then you can really see how important the diversity aspect was within this show, and that I am super proud to have been a part of.
Well, and could be continued part of, because as we know, they haven't officially announced anything, right? And no spoilers out there, but Feige has always got it planned. You know, they go on retreats. He's got this thing planned out for the next 10 years, and it's always interwoven. It's always, he knows what's coming. There was so many setups in this series to go beyond, right? That there's potential crossovers with the Eternals and other gods and other, so, you know, the idea of seeing the return of the Egyptian gods with the other gods in the MCU and the storylines that could potentially unfold, that's huge. So I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say maybe we've seen the last of your character. We can maybe see her again. So what do you think about that?
I mean, the potential is there.
You wouldn't say no, right?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say no. Of course not. I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, that's the beauty of Marvel. You just never know.
Kevin Feige knows.
Yeah, exactly. He's like
Kevin Feige. Yes,
he's
exactly.
like the only one that's so freaking epic. And something else that was really epic that I thought was probably really awesome to experience was that red carpet event, that red carpet premiere of Moon Knight, and being able to seeing that picture with Oscar Isaac and the kid dressed as Moon Knight. That like really touched my heart. I was like, oh, that's so freaking adorable. What was that event like? We have so many different stars there. You have the biggest celebrities in Hollywood, basically. So I would have just been shaken with excitement the whole time. What was that like for you?
I mean, I was shaking with excitement. I mean, the exhilaration was like 100%. It was just, I can't even express. It was a whirlwind, but it was so amazing. And that's the biggest red carpet I've ever done. I mean, because it's Marvel, so It was really like big. And I don't know. It was fun though. Don't get me wrong. I know like, it was crazy, and like to see so many people, and obviously like I still wasn't allowed to say anything of who I was.
Sure, right, for sure.
So I was just like, yeah, I'm in it.
I'm here.
You know, I want to talk a little bit about that too, because you brought up a good point with the little kids and the different things. I think the MCU and what they've been able to do has become so iconic and so inspiring for so many people, not just young, kids and young adults, but also I think people that want to get into the industry because of what they've been able to do and the groundbreaking stuff that they've been able to do, and yet continuously attacked sometimes for what they are and what these projects do. Elizabeth Olsen just came out in defense of them recently and everything, and so what do you think about that? Because and to her point, what she said, defending it's like you're attacking the brilliant work that everyone involved in these projects does by calling it something not real. That's crazy. I mean, if there was ever an aspect where it's brilliant storytelling and brilliant visuals and everything from crew up to the, above the line, it's brilliant. So to attack it as some form of a lesser art seems silly to me because it's inspired so many people.
Well, that's very true. Yesterday, actually, I went to a school in South London where there's a big Latin American community, and I was talking to these children, teenagers between the ages of like 11 and 16, and the way that they look up to Marvel, it was just like when they saw me, they were like, "What? From Colombia, and you were born like, and you were raised like 2 streets down from where we are.
Right.
You mean we can be in Marvel?" Like, yes. like that was so heartwarming to experience yesterday. And so in terms of that and what it means to like I don't know, the world and representation. And I don't know, I mean, yeah, I get that people have different points of view and different tastes.
Right.
That's reality. You know, you're always going to get people who don't like something for whatever reason. And I mean, to that, I just simply say, well, it's just not for you, but it's definitely for other people, like the young people that I met yesterday who absolutely love Marvel and everything that Marvel does. So that's really all I have to say.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, you probably inspired that individual because like they said, oh my gosh, you grew up right from where we were. We can too. If you can inspire just one person to believe in themselves to go after something, it's worth every bit of it.
100%. Honestly, I mean, that's a big, you know, I know you followed me for a while, so I'm a big advocate of how important representation is.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm someone who didn't see myself represented when I was younger, growing up here in the UK and even in Latin American film and TV. You know, I didn't actually see my own race represented because obviously we're multiracial in America. And so I know for a fact, like there were some young girls that were really affected by seeing me yesterday and being proud of being an Indigenous Latin American woman, and them seeing themselves reflected in me and talking proudly and being on the screen and being like, we belong there, we can be there.
That's right.
And even the teacher said today, like how much my visit had impacted, especially some of the young girls. And for me, I'm like, I mean, that's probably the most rewarding aspect of this job, as much as I absolutely loved filming. And that is what I find most fulfilling, being on set and being creative. But I find it equally fulfilling knowing that my passion is also giving someone else hope. I don't know. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, I mean, it's, yeah, I feel really happy and proud that I can do that.
Wow.
Well, that's absolutely amazing because I mean, I just have to say thank you for all the work and effort that you put forth like that, because a lot of people get into the entertainment industry just looking to be famous, looking to, you know, just provide for themselves, be super stereotypical where they don't care about anything else. They just care about the money. But you put yourself in this situation where you have a platform and you have a voice and you're using it for the right reasons, and I just think that's absolutely amazing and beautiful. So thank you for what you do, because that's
thank you.
Yes, of course, it's honestly jaw-dropping, breathtaking, beautiful.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, what we like to do now at the end of the show or at the end of our guest segment is, well, especially since we haven't talked to you in so long.
Right.
What have you been watching, either film or television? Is there something that just stuck out to you so much right now that you just want to be like, I have to mention this piece of content?
Well, other than Moon Knight.
Of course.
Which is like the only thing I've been watching lately. I actually started watching Rami, which is Nate Kalamawi's previous big project.
Yes.
And that is another one which I just think people need to watch because there's not many series that explicitly talk about the Muslim American community like that. And I'm just like, wow, this is just eye-opening for me.
It's a beautiful show.
Yes. So, and it's so funny and it's so interesting. So that's the one that sticks out to me at the moment.
Awesome.
Yes, for sure. And another one that we came up with, and you might have to think about this one a little bit, is what is your most embarrassing moment, either on film, stage, or in an audition room, that you were just like completely like don't even want to think about anymore, but it's one of those things where you can look back on and laugh about now?
Yeah, I mean, one thing just came to mind immediately. I think when I first started acting, I got, you know, I was just doing commercials at the very beginning because, that's what we do. And then I got my first kind of acting audition and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I didn't have an agent at the time. So I was just like, oh, I don't know. Like, I just was a bit clueless, to be fair.
Yeah.
They said that they would give me sides when I got to the casting room, or the casting office. And so I got there and they gave me about 5 pages of sides.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, what? And I completely freaked out because I just wasn't expecting that. And I was like, how am I going to plan this right now? Like, you know, there's only 2 girls in front of me and I couldn't focus. My mind was just going all over the place. So like, I don't think I even got to the end of it when I was called. So I was like, what? Oh my goodness. So I go into the casting room and there's the casting director, there's a producer and the director. So I'm like, oh, okay. It's not just the casting assistants. Right. You know, I'm like, oh, okay. There's quite a few people here. And they were like, you know, just try not to look at the script too much. But I was like, how do I not look at the script? It was really wordy. There wasn't a lot of action. It was very wordy. So I was like, okay. And so I did it. And I basically just read the script. I didn't really act. I was just reading. So the director kind of just gave me a few notes and was just like, just try not to look at the script. And it was a really serious role.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so I started going through it and I realized I'm definitely still looking at the script. So I'm reading this very serious role and I start laughing.
Oh.
And I'm just like just laughing. And then I start crumbling into myself, like laughing. And I'm just like, I was waiting for them to say stop or start beginning and they didn't. And so I just kind of, my voice went squeaky. I started like giggling and trying to just get through this audition. And they looked at me like, what the fuck just happened? Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. You can say that.
Yeah. And needless to say, to this day, I have never been called back into that casting.
That's great. That's great. It's like, that was an interesting interpretation of
it's so cringy, but like, you know, it was a lesson learned. And I've come such a long way. Maybe they'll come back one day. Who knows?
They'd be crazy not to. I mean, exactly. I would agree. You've come a long way and you're just killing it and you're doing amazing. And we're so happy that you came back on to talk to us. I mean, you're always such a pleasure.
You really are. And I mean, let's try not to make it 2 years next time.
Yeah.
But we should definitely bring you back on.
Hopefully I'll get some more work in the next 2 years, you know?
Oh, no doubt. You're killing it. I mean, come on now. But of course, we just want to shout out, where can people follow you? Because it's all about social media. You know how it is.
Yes. Well, I'm on Instagram mainly, and it's at Diana Bermudez.
Fantastic.
Easy and quick to find.
Exactly. Well, listen, take care. Thank you so much. We know you're a busy lady and you got to just kill it today. But again, thank you so much for coming on the show and getting a little crazy with us. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
See ya.